Hi folks, I'm Mr. Apples and you are tuned in to Mr. Apples World of Gaming. Today we're going to take a ride on the Shinkansen as we try to get the Week 10 challenge on Mini Metro. This is of course the Osaka Map in Japan. This map has very quick moving stations which get popular very quickly. But the difference with this map is you get to add on the Shinkansen, which is an ultra fast moving train that is designed for long lines. So folks, if you enjoy what you see, please like the video in YouTube, leave me a comment as well, and subscribe to my channel. You can also catch me on Facebook, that's facebook.com/MrApplesWorld. And you can also catch me on Twitter as well. My handle is @Mr. Apples World. So in this video, I have decided to go for the loop strategy. So what I'm going to do is try and get a few loops going around the city. And then I'm going to have one long line which has the Shinkansen. Now there are a few tips that I can give in using the Shinkansen. Try not to put other trains on the same line. It can often slow down the Shinkansen if it has to stay behind it. To start off with, we are just going to go for some more locomotives. Another good thing about this Osaka map is each week, if you don't choose the Shinkansen, you'll get 2 locomotives. Most other maps you only get 1 locomotive, but getting 2 is very handy. But as you can see, the stations start popping up everywhere, and so those 2 locomotives are needed. Those islands to the left there, they get very popular as well. You start off with a decent amount of tunnels in this map, and quite often I actually find myself not needing to buy any more. But if you think you need more tunnels, it's always good to do so by buying them at the start. I'm going to let the gameplay speak for itself a fair bit today as I start to do my loops. We don't have another line available, so we'll go for another couple of locomotives and then select that spare line. So that green line will eventually become the Shinkansen line when I actually put it in place. Everything's running nice and smoothly at the moment. We've even got a couple of trains up our sleeve. And that's what you'll often find on the Osaka map is sometimes you'll just realise, oh wait a minute, I've got another train here that I can use. Some pretty horrible angles going in there, but there's not too much you can do about that when you've got one sitting in the middle and you're trying to do the loop strategy. As long as you can handle it around the islands area, I think the loop strategy is really good on this map. And that's because there are just so many stations that pop up and you just don't know sometimes which one is going to be popular. So we'll make that green line go through the middle, and to start off with, it's just going to have a normal train because I don't have the Shinkansen up my sleeve, but I will do soon. You can also add carriages to the Shinkansen and it doesn't seem to slow it down that much, if at all. I haven't done any sums or any reading up to see whether it actually does slow down a Shinkansen, but it seems to move pretty quickly even with a carriage on it. And you'll see later on in this I actually do put a carriage on the Shinkansen. And as stated before, it is important that if you do have a Shinkansen on a line, you try not to have a normal locomotive on the same line. It's just going to slow it down, and then there's no point in having the Shinkansen. And as you can see, it is super quick. It's in and out of those stations very, very quickly as well. So unloads the passengers quicker than a normal train too. So once again, everything's running nice and smoothly now, but we're only a few weeks into the challenge, so that's to be expected. If you're ever having trouble with this part of the challenge, you probably do need to get a little bit of help. Watch some of my videos and see what kind of tips and tricks you can add to the making of your lines. We've got quite a few unique stations going now. As you can see, that diamond just popped up to the top. So we're heading into week 5, and we'll keep that pink line up our sleeve for the moment and see where we need it. And now a new line doesn't have to go onto new stations. And just to show you there was the first challenge of Osaka is to get 500 passengers delivered, so that challenge fell nice and easily, but we want to get to week 10. So yeah, if you do get a new line, you don't always have to put it onto new stations. You can actually have a look around your map and see if there's a big problem area, and you might want to link that up to other lines and do a loop around an area that has huge problems. For the moment though, we'll just try and alleviate these problems with that extra train that we had up our sleeve. This is where we just take a little bit of a moment to make sure that our map is looking good and that we have coverage in a lot of places. Throughout this challenge, that blue line caused me a lot of problems, and so I was constantly trying to add things to it and eventually trying to put other lines to connect to it so that I could give it a bit of a help. That red line is very much a problem at the moment though, because the blue line has a lot of coverage. So something I'm doing here is to try and break up the circles. We had 5 circles in a row, which meant sometimes those circles were not getting the proper coverage that they need. So it sounds counterintuitive sometimes, but adding in another station that is a different shape can often be a good strategy to use. Because what it will do, it'll pick up triangles from those first couple of circles, it'll then dump it off to the next triangle, and then that triangle will probably have circles on it, so then it can dunk it off at the next circle and then start picking up more passengers again. But as you've seen before, sometimes there's not much you can do. Circles just come in groups and clusters. Like our blue line down the bottom there, another circle. We're now into week 7, so we're getting reasonably close to finishing this challenge. Going to get a couple of locomotives, and we're going to use our first interchange. Now that square is the only square on the map, so it's good to probably put that as the interchange, because if you're going to set up your lines properly, you should have every one of them going through that square. And I was saying earlier, sometimes it's just good to add in a line around problem areas just to give them a hand. And then sometimes the lines just don't play ball. So that interchange going into that square, so that now doubles its capacity and also doubles the length of time that it takes for it to get to overcrowded. As you can see, the score's getting really good now. We're up to 1200 almost. This is a really nice score. We don't have too many problems, so this is going to go for a monster score. And you need a monster score if you want to get to week 10 on any challenge. For pretty much every map, it's at least 2000. That means you need to handle 2000 passengers on your line just to finish the challenge. As I was saying before, adding in a station of a different shape to break up groups of one shape is a very, very handy strategy to use. Now let's go with the double Shinkansen strategy. So this is going to be putting 2 Shinkansens on the same line, one of which will have a carriage, and the other hopefully can just zip around the line going back and forth to ensure we get a decent amount of coverage on that line. You see how quickly that Shinkansen went from one end of the line to the other. That actually looks really cool when that happens. Stations popping up everywhere. Quite often with some of the maps, you get to about this point and you might only get 1 or 2 new stations in a week. But Osaka, we haven't reached that point yet. That pink line is now doing a power of work. It's done very, very well to help us out in our situation here. I only have 1 tunnel left, so I thought I'd go for an extra couple, just in case. I really needed that line, but that's hindsight when you look back at it. That extra line would have been so handy right now. But sometimes you get stations popping up all over those islands, especially towards the south. Luckily for me, in this map, I only had them towards the north of those islands. Decided to slow the gameplay down a little bit. Just as you're getting close to finishing a challenge, it's important just to do this. If you get problems occurring, they become much bigger problems if you just keep it at fast forward. So sometimes just slowing the game down can help you out enormously. Because we're getting so close to finishing the challenge, I really wanted just to make sure that I could get there now. Just have coverage everywhere and push through to that week 10. So if you watch the Shinkansen that's about to head towards the cross, it only has crosses with it and there's nothing waiting at that station. So I'm going to drag that and put it towards the start of the line again to a place where I have a problem area, just so that I can get it cleared. Because that does not need to pick up any passengers from the cross because there's no one there. So you may as well pick it up and put it to somewhere that you need it. And there we go, folks. We're reaching week 10 in Osaka. Another couple of trains just to help us out. So many problems happening at this point in time, it's hard to know where to begin. But look at your biggest problem. It's as simple as that. So what I'm doing there is I'm adding the carriage to the train. And it's finally ticking on. And then once that carriage actually ticks onto that train, then I'm moving it to the next station, knowing that I had a bit of time to actually do that. And there we go, we've cleared up the biggest problem. But there are problems everywhere, so sometimes when you get to this, you just let the game play out. You might pause it and delay the inevitable, but it's going to come back and bite you very shortly. Now you just take bets on which one it is. So thank you so much, folks, for watching this video. I hope you got a few tips, tricks and pointers out of it. And stay tuned for the next one on Mr. Apple's World of Gaming. And catch me on Facebook as well.